Hello everyone, today I am going to do this. As you can see here, use WSAD to move around, and then we are going to get a tip, another tip saying press C to interact with the objects, press T to hear inner thoughts of the character. So here, this input key, here we are using a rich text box with the, and also the input key is taken dynamically. That means whatever the key we assign in the input will be taken into the tip dynamically. And also if we are using the keyboard, we will show the keyboard, otherwise we will show the gamepad input, but for now here we are focusing on the keyboard input. So yeah, let's see how to do that today. And this episode is sponsored by this generous patron. Thank you very much for your support. Right, I just had to hit compile after doing changes, so then it started showing the changes. Okay, showing the text. So for example here, if I change the font size to 25 and save, that's not reflected here until I compile. Okay, right, now here I'll change the default color to white, and shadow color is dark, opacity 1, shadow offset. Well, I don't think I need a shadow, but let's check here. Okay, it looks like this. Right, now the next thing I need is a special font, a special style to show the key. So for something like press WSAD to move. So to do that, let's duplicate the same row, duplicate, let's call it input. Right, now here when input is selected, as you can see already, the color is white. So I'm gonna use something like this color, and also let's add a highlight color too and see how it looks. Oh, we have a background as well. So now to use this input style, what we have to do is, okay, let's start with this example. Use here we have to put the style. So input is the style name. Did I use capital? I'm not sure if it is case sensitive, so yeah, let's use simple. In any case, use the style WSAD, and this one remarks the end of the styles usage to move. Now compile. See, now you can see the style change is applied. Right, now also it would be better if we had some kind of a border around this tip, so it will be more clear to the player. Let's name this one RT text, and let's wrap this with a border. And yeah, also make this rich text. Oh wait, remove the border for a moment. First we need to enable, replace with child. So here enable size to content, so then this will be automatically resized based on the text. So here if I add, use WSAD to move instead of move, if I append move around the world, you see this text box is automatically expanded. And here if I add auto wrap, now wrap text, let's see what happens if I type a very large line. It keep expanding. So as the wrap, if I set it to auto wrap, nothing happens. Set 300. So as you can see here, it goes to a new line. So let's use 700 or 1000. Yeah, 1000 seems good. Okay, now let me remove this unwanted text. Right, now let me wrap with a border. Let's change the border color to black with some transparency, 0.6, so it would be more clear, 0.5. Also, can we add padding? Yeah, here let's add 10 padding to the left, to the right also. Okay, so let's see what if I type more. See, now the border is also expanding. Okay, right, now let me compile. Let's go to the HUD, open the full blueprint editor. Code like me HUD, I need to assign instead of this default HUD that we have in the game mode. Okay, now in the HUD I'll define a function or custom event, but this needs to be created through interface because we need to be able to call it from other classes. So for example, show the input keys for this particular action. We need to be able to call this from various classes, so it's better to set up a blueprint interface. Let's call it PPI HUD. I'll define a separate interfaces, pp interfaces folder. Right, now here we have a new function. Let's call it show tip, and as the input I'll give an string. Tip. Okay, let's also add another parameter to define a timeout as well. So this will be kept on the screen until this timeout is run out. For example, as the default value I'll give 5. So if we need longer timeout, we can just modify this or shorter. Right, now okay, now in the widget, in the HUD, let's implement that interface PPI HUD. Then we can implement show tip event. So here what we do is, first we need to create widget tips. Create widget using the class WDG tips, and let's promote this to a variable. Let's just call it tips. Okay, no, better to call WDG. WDG stands for widget. So yeah, we have to create this, but only once. So we can first get the widget tip and check if we have a valid tip object like this, and if not, we can create one. If yes, we don't need to create one, we can just use it. So get the widget tip. Here we need to set text. No, here we need to set the text of the rich text. So better to create a function for that. Here rt text, get the referenced. Let's create a custom event show tip. Set text. And previously I used a string type as the tip, so I'm gonna get the input as a string. Tip. So it will be automatically converted to a text here like this. Okay, now here we can use that custom event show tip. Here make sure that you are not using the interface function, you are using the widget tip function that you have created. Right, let's ignore the timeout for now. Oh wait, we don't need to ignore it, actually we have to use it. Set the text and widget tip add to viewport. If we are not already in the viewport, so it's in viewport, let's add a branch. If not, add to viewport. If true, we don't need to edit again. And then let's here add the retriggerable delay because and connect the timeout. The reason to add a retriggerable delay is because let's say we give an we ask the HUD to show an input tip like use WSAD to move with the duration of 5 seconds, and before that and after the 5 seconds I'm going to add I'm going to remove the tip widget from the viewport. But if I call another show tip function like use mouse to look around, something like that, before this delay is fully executed, then even after I change the tip, here if I haven't used a retriggerable delay, it will be removed from the viewport once the remaining of the 5 seconds is done, even if I add the new tip here. So that's why I added this retriggerable delay, so that it will be renewed. If I call it again, it will be reset back to 0 and count again until whatever the duration we give. So after the retriggerable delay is finished, we need to remove the widget from the viewport. So remove from parent. Right, that's all I think. Okay, right, now let's go here and let's test this blueprint. Let's open the level blueprint. In the, do we have the begin play here? No. The begin play, let's first give a delay like 2 seconds and get player controller, get hard, and let's call show tip. So as the tip, I can just use, let me just directly type the input now, WSAD to move around. See, I got the tip and it should go away in 5 seconds like that. So but I didn't get the highlighting here. That's because I haven't used the style input right. Now I got the highlight. Okay, so but this is not dynamic. That means if the player has changed instead of WSAD to something else, this wouldn't work, because this would be wrong, not work. This will work, but it would be wrong. So what we need is, we need to dynamically get the input that we have set up for the movements from here. Move forward and move right. So how do we get that? Okay, so for that, in order to get the input keys, let's define another function. Where should we do that? I think it would be better if we use the player controller for that, but here we are using the default player controller. So under the pp folder, let's create a new player controller. Let's name it CodeLy Me Player Controller. Right, now for this one also we need to set up an interface, because we need to communicate with this interface without having any concrete references. So PPI player controller, let's define a function, get input. Key. So at the moment we just need as the output, we just need the string. So as set keys as the output string, and as the input also we need the input name. Okay, Now here, instead of this player controller class, I'll give code like my player controller. Let's see if everything is work as usual. Yes. Okay, nothing is changed. Now in this player controller, let's implement that interface. PPI player controller, get input keys. No, what's the get input keys? Yes. Oh, it's a function here. Double click. Okay, now we have the input name. So how do we get the keys relevant? Right, now here we have two kinds of inputs, actions and axis. So here we can get input settings. We can use this function to get the input settings, and then get action mapping by name. So this will result, this will give a set of input action mappings with this given name. So if this one is, the length is 0, that means this is not an action. So we can again check get axis mapping by name using the similar. So here we have axis key mapping structure. Here we have action key mapping structure. Okay, so let's first check the length of this one. And if this is larger than 0, that means we have action mappings for this given input name. So let's have a branch. Let me disconnect the output for now. Otherwise, if this is false, we need to check the length of this axis mappings. And here, if this is true, that means we do have axis mappings for this given name. If it is false, we can just return nothing. Okay, that means we have given an invalid input name if we get this false. Okay, now in here, let's do a for each loop using this action mappings. Wait, do we need a local variable? Maybe not. Here we can break this input action key mapping. Right, now here, if you check here for move forward, you can see a lot of keys which include keyboard keys, gamepad keys, Vive keys, Oculus Go controllers, a lot of inputs. But we only need to show the current active input method, device keys that we are using. So at the moment I don't have a controller or anything connected. I only have the keyboard, but we will in future we will look into a way to dynamically change the input key given input key selected by based on the active input device. So for now, to allow do that, let's create another function here. Is active input device. So this should return either true or false, yes or no. If this is true, this will be yes, otherwise it will be a no. So as an input, we need a key. Okay, let's call it key, and I will make it a pure function so that we don't need to connect an execution wire. So here at the moment I'm only considering the keyboard input. So is keyboard key. If this is true, I'm gonna return yes, I'm gonna return true. Now here we can use is active input device and insert the key. If this is true, we can get the name of the key, display name. Right, now here as the return type I need a string keys. Let me promote this to a local variable keys. Input keys. Okay, so here let's get the input keys and append if this is a valid device, if this is the active device, and set as the new value of keys. Now this should happen if this is action, and once it is completed we can return. Okay, and the next one is we don't need this exit. Next case is if this is not a action, this is axis, so we can reuse this part. If I convert this to a macro, so collapse to macro, let's change the name append key. Right, if this is true, same as before, we can run for each loop just like above case. And we can break this input axis mapping, and here we can use append key. And finally we can connect this return. Okay, when I compile I get some errors. Input keys. Oh, why not? That's because I promoted this to a macro. Right, we can't promote it to a macro. Let me expand this again. So here what happened is I promoted this to a macro. So if I use it, make it a macro, if I turn this into a macro is able to use outside this function as well, but this input keys is a local variable, so that's why we had a problem. Compile error warning. And as the keys, I'm gonna return input keys. Okay, now we can use this function in here. So we can do another append, use here to move around. So here we need to give the keys. So we can, from the player controller, we can get input keys. So the input name would be, actually we need move forward and move right both. So move, wait, let me check, copy this, move forward, and get input keys here, move right. So okay, we need two inputs. Now first one goes here, second one goes here, and here we need to add the style input style tag, otherwise it will be shown in the same way, in the same default style. Okay, oh, we have an error, we need to connect the player controller. Right, let's play and see. Down, up, SWDA to move around. Right, so actually as a movement input we have up and down as well, which is I don't think necessary, so I'll just remove them. SWDA to move around. Okay, so yeah, the order is kind of changed, but that's the way it is defined in here. SWDA. I think the key with the lower scale. Oh no, we can actually fix the order here. Simply change in the order of appending. Use, oh, still no. Oh wait, we need to change the order for both. Okay, WSAD, right, that's better. Okay, right, so let's quickly add two more actions. Actually in this project we are going to implement, we are going to have a interact key would be E, and the gamepad, oh, we don't need to define the gamepad now, he should be enough. And we are going to have another key, another action to listen to inner thoughts of the character, of the player. So thoughts, for that I'm gonna use T for the moment. Okay, now in here, after a delay, let's say after 10 seconds, I'm gonna show another tip. Let me duplicate this part. Here, interact and thoughts. So the text is going to be press E to interact, press interact key, and here to interact with objects, and press the next key, thoughts key. Here also we need the style tag, input, to here, inner thoughts of the character. Right, compile, and let's see, use WSAD to move around. It should go away in 5 seconds, and in a while we should get the next tip. Oh, here we have a mistake. We need to finish the style tag. Okay, we should have added a space, but that's not a big deal. Right, so if we need this input, this message is a little longer, so if we need it to keep in the screen a little longer, we can increase the timing. Let's see, the timing also works. Yeah, looks like it's working. It was there more than 5 seconds. Okay, So what else we should do? Right, I think it would be better if this tip is faded in and faded out before just appearing and disappearing without any smoothness. So for that we can use this render opacity of the canvas panel. So if I make it 0, it disappears. If I make it 1, it appears. So let's add a new animation. Fade in and select the canvas panel, make it 0, add a key input, and within 0.5 seconds make this 1 and add another key input. So if you play, you see we get it. And now in the event graph called after the underline slate widget is constructed. I think we can play the animation here. Play animation forward. Right, we don't need to restore, we need to keep the state. Okay, let's see if that, see, it appears slowly. Great. Now we need to disappear, make it disappear as well. So for that short it. Let's get the duration into here as well. Get a float. So the length of the animation is 0.5 seconds. So get the duration, triggerable delay. Actually we don't need to wait this full duration, we need to wait only the amount we need to start the animation. So I'll subtract 0.6 seconds here. I think this will be clamped in between 0 and some value, and we don't need to clamp it manually, just in case we get some errors if we get minus values here. I'm not sure, but let's see. Okay, then after this duration we can just call this fade in animation, play animation reverse. Small detail, but still should look better. Wait, it went away very fast. Right, the problem is this, we didn't connect the duration from the HUD. It's 0 here. Right, WSAD to move around, got it. Let's see if it fade. Oh, it didn't fade out nicely. Why not? Alright, problem is here I have minus 0.6, so double negative, so this should be just 0.6. Right, great. Okay, Great. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this episode right here. So thanks for watching. The project files will be available for the download through Patreon page. Link would be in the description below. And if you like to support my work, you can get the membership of the Patreon club. See you in another episode. Goodbye.